The Kafkaesque nightmare of Mahmoud Khalil, a Columbia student's fight for freedom. Mahmoud Khalil, a graduate student at the prestigious Columbia University, found himself thrust into a chilling real-life nightmare last weekend. The details, laid bare in an updated lawsuit filed by his legal team, paint a harrowing picture of arbitrary detention and a blatant disregard for due process. The incident has ignited a firestorm of protest, raising serious questions about the Trump administration's aggressive immigration policies and the erosion of fundamental rights. The narrative begins not with a crime, but with handcuffs and shackles. Suddenly snatched from his life in New York City, Khalil was unceremoniously transported to the desolate landscape of Louisiana, a journey his lawyers describe as feeling akin to a kidnapping. The abruptness of the arrest, the lack of transparency, and the sheer distance of the transfer all contribute to the unsettling sense of injustice that permeates this case. His ordeal didn't end with the harrowing cross-country journey. Upon arrival at the Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) detention facility in Jena, Louisiana, Khalil was left to endure the indignity of sleeping in a cold, unforgiving bunker, bereft of even the most basic comforts like a pillow or blanket. This stark depiction of his treatment underscores the callous indifference exhibited towards a scholar, a student, a human being. The cruelty of the situation is further amplified by the gleeful pronouncements of top Trump administration officials, who openly celebrated the deportation efforts targeting Khalil. Their jubilation stands in stark contrast to the plight of a man who, according to his lawyers, was a prominent voice in student protests against Israel's military actions in Gaza. His activism, they argue, transformed him into a recognizable figure on Columbia's campus, a public face for a movement advocating for human rights and an end to conflict. The Trump administration, devoid of any accusation of criminal activity, has leveled the accusation that Khalil is aligned with Hamas, the Islamist militant group that governs Gaza, and is designated as a terrorist organization by the United States. This allegation, they claim, justifies invoking an obscure legal provision as a pretext for his deportation. The arbitrary nature of this accusation is compounded by the administration's blatant disregard for legal precedent and due process. The fact that the government is actively trying to move Khalil's case to Louisiana, a state known for its more conservative judiciary, speaks volumes about their strategy. It suggests a deliberate attempt to manipulate the legal system in order to secure a favorable outcome, regardless of the merits of the case. President Trump himself weighed in on the matter, heralding Khalil's arrest as the first of many to come. His boastful declaration on social media, promising the deportation of students engaged in pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic, anti-American activity, sends a chilling message. It is a thinly veiled threat, an attempt to stifle dissent and silence critical voices. This rhetoric serves to further inflame tensions and create an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. Khalil's arrest occurred in the early hours of Monday morning, around 1 a.m. He was whisked away in a police car to the Louisiana detention facility in Jena, a location far removed from the familiar surroundings of his academic life in New York. His subsequent court appearance on Wednesday in New York ended with a denial of his release, further solidifying the sense of powerlessness he must be experiencing. The news of Khalil's arrest and detention has triggered widespread outrage and protests, with many decrying the actions of the government as an overreach of power and a violation of fundamental human rights. The stark contrast between his contributions to the academic community and the harsh treatment he is enduring only exacerbates the feelings of injustice and outrage. His past work for the British government further complicates the narrative, painting a picture of a man with a complex background, not a dangerous threat to national security. The legal battle that lies ahead promises to be arduous and complex. His lawyers are fighting tirelessly for his release, arguing that the entire process has been marred by irregularities and a clear violation of his rights. Their updated lawsuit underscores the urgency of the situation, demanding Khalil's immediate release from custody. The case raises fundamental questions about the balance between national security and individual liberties, the limits of government power, and the protection of due process in the face of political pressure. The international community is watching, and the outcome will have far-reaching implications for the rights and freedoms of students and activists everywhere. The story of Mahmoud Khalil has transcended the borders of a single arrest. It has become a symbol of the fight for justice in an increasingly polarized world. The fight for his freedom is not just his. It is a fight for the principles of fairness, due process, and the right to dissent.